back to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, we're talking about our numbers, and believe it or not, I think you're going to feel good after the conversation, even though it is about the finances and numbers. Carla Titus is joining me today, and she has some insights to share in this area. She is a financial expert and the founder and CEO of Wealth and Worth Within, where she offers fractional CFO services and financial consulting to support business owners like us and help people like us achieve financial clarity. If you aren't familiar with what a fractional CFO is or how and what they can do for your business, this conversation is going to be a great place to start. With more than 15 years experience in corporate financial planning, analysis, strategy, and consulting, Carla empowers and educates business owners, allowing them to build a foundation and take control of their finances so we can make better decisions on a day-to-day basis. Carla is here to help us understand the benefits of outsourcing our finances beyond just hiring a bookkeeper. And I know outsourcing can be tough and scary, especially when we think about something as personal as our finances. But we already know our friend Kim Liddy, who is also a fractional CFO, as well as a co-author in my third book, The Power Talk Friday Experts Volume 2. So we know that this can be done effectively. And we know from others who have talked about Kim's services, the lifeline it can be to us as a creative to have someone like this on our team. So today, Carla will help us understand our options when it comes to outsourcing and why partnering with a fractional CFO can be a profitable investment, especially when you're scaling your business. She's here to help us gain confidence around managing our finances and planning for the years ahead. So I am delighted to welcome Carla to the show today. Hey, Carla, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me today.
So, Carla, I'm super excited about this conversation because we need more people like you in our industry to help us, because as a fractional CFO, you know, of course, we have our rock stars. We have Michelle Williams. We have Kim Liddy. We have Peter Lang. And these are all professionals in the financial service areas for us to, you know, access and to lean on. But we need more because there's tens of thousands of us designers over here, and I need more resources for them. So I love this lane of fractional CFO. And just to get us started, in case it's a new concept for somebody, talk to me about what is it? What does it mean to be a fractional CFO or to have a fractional CFO for your interior design business?
Sure. So, as you know, a lot of companies out there, bigger ones or corporations, all have CFOs on staff full time. Now, as you can imagine, those roles are highly compensated with both a base salary plus stock and some other benefits. That would be a completely unachievable amount of cost to add on to a small business owner. So what we created is a fractional CFO, which is spending all the time and effort to support your business in a capacity that is probably less than part-time, just because the business does not have that need yet for a full-time CFO. There's just not enough scope for them to have a full-time role yet in the business. But you still need that expertise and guidance and be able to understand your financial picture, start to plan looking forward, what's going to happen, ask the questions, scenario plan, and all of those type of support come from that fractional CFO who has the expertise, but for a fraction of the cost. So now you get to access that high level executive and expert with years and years of experience to help your business steer in the right direction financially so you get all the benefits for the fraction of the cost.
Okay. So take it a step further for me. If what are either the duties or the conversations that a fractional CFO has with or for me that are different, say, than the duties and conversations I would have with my bookkeeper or my CPA?
Sure. So let me start with what conversations are you having with your bookkeeper and CPA? And if you're not, you probably should consider to start having those. And that is, what are my financial statements? How are we categorizing things? Are they accurately being recorded, reconciled every month? And am I looking at those monthly statements every month? So that's the step one. That's the bookkeeper role. From the accounting tax side, you're going to start to talk to your accountant about tax strategy, planning, or just filing your taxes. At that point, they're going to be supporting you from anything that is tax expertise for the benefit of the business. Now, the conversations you're going to have with your CFO are going to leverage that foundation for what your bookkeeper is providing and what your accountant is guiding to ensure that you're looking at the strategic financial direction of the business. So we're talking about profitability. We're talking about what are some decisions that the business owner needs to make in order to afford certain things like your next hire, or if you're having to buy stock for furniture long term, what is that amount that you should be allocating? Talking about the cost structure for your business to ensure maximum profitability, but also making sure that you're looking at margins and that you're looking at your own pay as the business owner, that you're looking at any additional costs that might come down the way that are no longer a surprise because you've proactively planned with your CFO with a strategic lens from a finance perspective that sometimes might be missing because not everybody thinks that way. And that is the type of conversation and collaboration and partnership that you're having with your CFO at any given point in time with your business.
Okay. So here's the thing. I hear you. I understand it. And I love the clarity in the different roles. First of all, I love that, that the bookkeeper, we're talking about, what are the monthly statements look like? Am I categorizing things the right way? Is it getting reconciled every month? I love that. It's all the nitty gritty details of ensuring, I guess, what my brain is hearing is that the data that is happening in my business is being captured and recorded the right way when we talk about it from a financial standpoint. And then when you talk about the CPA, right, it's the tax strategy. It's like the check-ins quarterly. Am I putting aside enough money? Am I moving into a different tax bracket? Do I have to make concessions now so I'm not surprised at the end of the year? Do I have to just make plans and move, all the things? And then when you talk about taking this information that is gathered and recorded by these other professionals and leveraging it, and now what I'm hearing is and analyzing it, right? And saying, like you mentioned, can I hire? Should I be doing this? Am I profitable? Are my jobs profitable? My question, Carla, is if this is a new relationship for someone and someone is thinking, that sounds good. I want some of that. I know what many of us think next. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know what information that a CFO is going to want from me. And therefore, the brain sort of freezes. The
Mm-hmm.
brain sort of freezes and it sort of says, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know how to know it in order to be an intelligent counterpart to this conversation. Is that necessary? Like, what would you say? At minimum, you need to have an understanding of this, or you don't need a minimum understanding of anything. Talk to me. You know what I'm saying? That really, I'm hesitant and I'm afraid to start this relationship because I don't know what I don't know.
And the beauty of bringing an expert into your business is that you do not need to know everything. That
Mm.
is the whole point of outsourcing your finances is you're bringing that knowledge and also that person that's going to guide the process from beginning to end, make you feel empowered and comfortable around your finances and your numbers. And you don't need to figure this out on your own anymore. So the beauty is that you bring in a support team that will start talking to you from onboarding on what are the requirements, what are the paperwork or information that we need to get started, start asking the right questions. And guess what? You, as the business owner, are already an expert in your business. All we're doing is translating that to what the numbers should be. What are the goals that you're trying to achieve? What are some, personal areas that we need to take into consideration when connecting to the business, and understanding what is the holistic, comprehensive financial plan that your business needs from that financial lens. So you do not need to be an expert. You do not need to know everything, and you do not need to feel overwhelmed, because the whole point of outsourcing to an expert is so that that expert can guide and help you feel at ease. And if they're not doing that, well, maybe it's time to reconsider a different person for your business.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're basically reassuring. You're saying to me, LuAnn, that's the whole point. You don't need to have an understanding of that. We're going to walk you through and help you see. I guess really what I was, when I think about it, it's like the conversation of what I don't know,
Mhm.
right? It's more like, if I don't even, maybe I'm in a business owner that doesn't even know what milestones I need to look at in my finances. And
Sure.
that's what you're saying. You don't have to know that. You're going to
Mhm.
say, we need to look at profitability. We need to look at margins. We need to look at, long-term plan, hiring strategies. Like,
Mhm.
you're going to bring those things up, and then we're going to think about it. And then together you're going to teach us how to make a plan for it. Am I understanding this properly?
That is accurate. Your CFO should be proactively planning on your behalf for your business.
See?
So, what we're doing is we're thinking 2, 3 steps ahead on, hey, you mentioned you needed to grow the business. Well, that might require additional capital. It might require another team member. And we start to ask those questions to get out of you what are some of those needs in order to hit those goals. And then if you're like, I don't have goals, well, we help you draft goals. So, we go back to everything that we've seen in the past, the experience we have, and we are so happy to welcome any kind of situation that you're in that you think is less than ideal. For us, it's like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. Let's do it. Let's work on it. Let's make it better. Because the goal of the CFO is to improve the financial picture of the company. So even if the foundation is not there, if things are missing, we will craft a plan to ensure that all those things get put in place, that the foundation is solid, and that then we build from there that proactive planning piece that is probably currently not happening in your business, not because you weren't giving it attention, but because you missed that expertise or that knowledge of what should I be planning for next. And that is what the CFO is coming in to fill in the gap, and why companies that have a CFO thrive and grow faster and more profitably than companies that don't.
Okay. You know what I heard in there, Carla, which we're all going to be able to relate to very easily? It's no different than if we were sitting facing a potential interior design client or a window treatment client, and that client is saying, I don't know, I don't think I'm ready to hire you yet because I don't really know all the different types of window treatments there are. So I'm not sure what kind to tell you I want or we should do, or I don't know where the best sources for furniture are. So I can't hire you yet because I don't know that. And we're looking at them going, I'm sorry, that's what I'm here for. like,
Exactly.
like that's what I do. You just tell me what you want it to look like and how you want it to function, and I will figure those things out. Right. So that's clarity. I really have that right there. It's, don't overthink what you don't know. Have some vision on what you desire, whether you want to increase your profitability, or you want to grow your team, or you want to grow your business, or you want to expand your marketplace, or whatever it is. But then you guys are going to sit down, get all of the information about us, our business, our revenue streams, our assets, and all that, and help us figure out how to get there.
Exactly. Just like when a client comes to you and maybe shows you a Pinterest picture of what their ideal, room looks like, and you're just like, "Oh my God, I know exactly which window treatment, which color scheme."
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll brainstorm a few options, right? To make sure it's not
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, but you narrow it down for them because you're the expert. You know what's going to work well in that room, and you don't have to let them pick from 100 samples. You're just going to narrow it down to 2 or 3, and based on what they're telling you they want. And that is exactly what we do with financial planning and forecasting. Is we look at what are those high level goals, where are you going, and then we craft a plan step by step to help you get there. And also along the way, check in on progress and make sure that you're on track, so that if you're not, we can pivot and change the direction and adjust some things to make sure you get back on track.
I love it. I love it. So I love all of that, Carla. I really do. Now, you know what I'm also hearing in my mind's eye with this? It's, knowing the evolution of businesses and having, done Window Works and Exciting Windows and LuAnn and Carla Inc. It uh, what I can't help but hear in my head is it seems like a process like this is really one of the key factors of helping us start to think of ourselves as the CEO of our business and not just the chief cook and bottle washer. Do you agree with that? Like, talk to me about that a little bit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because most of the clients that come to us, when they come to us first, they're just feeling overwhelmed. They're overworked. They're not, making as much money as they wanted out of their business. And they're wondering why they even sometimes started, right? They're like, should I go back to a job? It's a lot easier. I get a paycheck
Exactly.
and
I could
clock in
just
and clock
clock
out
out
and
at
don't
5.
work so much, right? And we say it could be so much better, right? But first, we need to help you grow in your mindset as owner and CEO of your company. What I find a lot of people get into business first as solopreneurs and then grow a team is they never evolve their mindset. And it's hard because you're not making the time to work through some of the barriers and situations that you'll encounter as a business owner as you continue to grow your company. And having these conversations with your CFO at this new strategic level starts to put you in the right mindset of the things that you need to be asking, on the direction that you need to be setting, and the vision for your company to become a reality. So we get you out of the doing day to day, attending to your business, which is also very important. And we're not, minimizing the impact of that. But we're saying there is times where you need to step into that CEO role and work on your business, not in your business. And having these conversations and having the planning and doing that proactive approach to your business management and goals, it's going to help you get into that right mindset. And over time, you'll find yourself just going there naturally on your own to start to think about, what am I going to do with my business? What are their 2-year objectives? Do I need to grow the team? What is happening? What is working and not working well? What type of clients do we need to get rid of? And what kind of clients we are delighted to work with that we want to bring more on? And so you start to think differently about your business from that business owner lens instead of the working bee lens, which I, say a lot of people are just stuck in that area because they never come up for air and they never think about that high level perspective of looking down on their business and saying, wow, this is amazing what I've created, and I want to make it even better for myself going forward.
I love that. I love all of that in there because it's so true. You it, the part that's particularly true, looking back on our experience, is the shift in the mindset. It's you're busy, you're growing a business, all the responsibilities on your shoulders. I got to do, I got to do, I got to do. I'm the best person to sell for my company. I'm the best person to check that we're getting the right invoices. I'm the best person to make sure that things are being overseen. I'm the best person to make sure the client is happy. And then it really does get to a point where you're like, yeah, can't sort of be the best person at everything. Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But it's tough, that shift, and to start looking at the business at a macro level as opposed to an individual. It's Tuesday morning, and on Tuesday mornings, I, plan reveal installs. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is,
Exactly.
right? Okay. I love that. And then once you get into the weeds and you are working with a business owner as their fractional CFO, some of the topics I was reading through your website, some of the topics that you talk about and you help, open and expand business owners' minds about are, cash flow. And one of the things that says, why is it important and how do we use it strategically? So what do you have to say about that for us to teach us something?
Yeah, so there's actually 5 components that we look at for every business owner that we work with, and cash flow is one of the most important ones, of course, because people run out of money before they run out of business, and that
Yeah.
happens more often than we want to admit. And unfortunately, it is our job to avoid those type of situations and plan ahead to ensure that we have plenty of runway. And so I'll dive more deeply into that. But the other components that we look at is capacity, overall planning for the company, their pay, compensation in general, and profit. So those are the pillars that we focus on for financial health for every business that we work with to ensure that they're trending towards the right metrics and really achieving the right goals. So back to cash flow. What happens is a lot of business forget to plan for cash flow because it's not something they're really thinking about. So for example, they'll have all these projects and then they forget to invoice. And they're like, why
Mm,
don't I have cash in the bank to pay payroll? And
mm,
it's, well, all of your invoices are just sitting waiting for someone to send them out. And guess what? Because you thought you were the best person to do everything in your business, you never delegated out. So it's not getting done on a weekly basis. And now you're behind and you have $20,000 of receivables that could have helped you make that next couple payrolls, but you
mm,
don't have it in the bank because you forgot to invoice people. And guess what? People don't pay when they're invoiced right away. Sometimes they take a little longer. Sometimes you extend the payment terms to 30 days. Now you're waiting and sitting and waiting and waiting. You now have to get a line of credit. You have to put it on a credit card. You have to put personal money into the business to cover the expense because you forgot to invoice. And it's
mm.
as simple as that, but it's also, so scary because you should not be in that situation if you have the right financial foundation in place and systems to be able to help you avoid those type of cash flow issues. Now, a CFO is going to come in and identify that right away and say, we're going to put a process around invoicing. It's going to happen weekly and we're going to hire someone to do it at, an hourly rate or whatever, because that is their expertise and as is their responsibility to ensure that that goes out on time and that we're collecting and following up, because there's also a follow-up process to ensure people are paying. So now you're not worried about that aspect of your business because someone is handling it for you. There's a system in place and it's working. And then when there's issues, occasionally exceptions, we will deal with that. But for the most part, the 90% of the payments are coming in on time, just as you need to make payroll in your business. And that is just one simple example of how managing the influx and outflux of cash really can help a business be more financially stable, but also feel completely in control of what's happening. At the same time, help them plan for how do we grow this thing to the next level if this is not working well already.
Mm.
We're going to just magnify the problem. So cash or new sales will not solve your cash flow problems because you have a different problem you need to solve first before you go scale and make this problem 10 times, as bigger as it was before.
I love it. It's so funny because I always talk about my husband, Vinny, and of course, he's got a degree in accounting, and he's been basically our bookkeeper and CFO for our whole business career. He does both. Um, and we're getting to the point where he recognizes that he's going to have to. He doesn't. We have some help with bookkeeping, but he's ultimately the bookkeeper and the CFO, and so we're just like, okay, Nagara, you got to back this up. But in his role as CFO, literally just this past week, now as we're recording this, it's in December of 2022, and he knows from 40 years experience that it's going to get pretty skinny in the checkbook in January and February for
Hmm.
WindowWorks. That's just that's the way it's gone. That's the way the calendar year is for us. And at the management meeting, to your point, he is literally functioning at this as the CFO. He's saying it's December, it's the second week of December. We have 10 business days until we close, and we have, this amount of money in our problems to be resolved file. Right. And
Hmm.
it's a six-figure number in outstanding invoices that are not collected because there's, deficiencies and things that have to be addressed on the things. Right. That sounds crazy to a lot of people, but it's a big business. So it's not that we're really dumb at what we do. A lot of if you could have a $25,000 Hunter Douglas or a Comfortex, project that if they miss 6 sets of brackets, your client could look at you and say, yeah, we'll pay you when you come back with those. We're like, yay, love that.
Hmm.
Right. So the point is that he is doing that cash flow looking ahead. He's saying this money, as much of you as you can, has to be collected between now and the 22nd of the month, because that's what we're going to operate on in February and January. And so I love that. And it's we've always had that benefit of that. And I'm explaining that story because it is, look, I'm not the lead salesperson for WindowWorks anymore, but from all the years, my head was down selling. My head was down selling. That's what I do. And he always was the one that did what you are talking about. Looking ahead 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. What are we going to do? How are we going to manage this money? How are we going to make payroll? And when I think about the, hundreds of designers that I know, that they are both roles. They are their rainmaker for their firm, and they're also the one who's leading the firm. And it just is so clear to me the need for the guidance in this area of somebody just going, whoa, 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 head up, head up. What's happening with your pipeline? What are you doing? Have you been invoicing?
Yeah, and cash flow planning has seasonality built into it too. And if you're not aware of what the seasonality in your business is, you should look back at your last
Mm-hmm.
year or two and see, when do sales dip? When do you
Mm.
see a slowdown in business naturally? It could be a time period in the year, it could be a given month, it could be a 2 week period. It doesn't matter. What you're looking for is, when does business dip, and am I prepared to weather that period of time through cash flow planning proactively before the problem becomes a problem? Meaning, you have 2 months of runway, like you mentioned, one in the bank, before that problem will show up. So now you know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. You know that you're prepared. You have enough to get you through that period until things start to come back up again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding that, you know when that's coming, it's going to help you feel, one, at ease, and also at peace with, like, we don't have an issue here, we are
Mm-hmm.
good, we can make it through, we expected this, we knew it was coming, we planned properly for it, and we're managing accordingly. And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing I just want to make a remark on, it's, you're so lucky to have your husband be the CFO, because what I see a lot of business owners is, they go to their bookkeeper and say, hey, you should be my CFO, essentially. And
Mm.
that doesn't always work that way, because the skill set and the experience might not be there. And so I want to make sure that when people, are considering who they should be asking questions, or who their money team should be composed of, you have three distinct roles that we talked about, and the functions that each role serves. So we want to make sure that you're going to the right person for the right level of support and expectation. And I see it too often where bookkeepers are going to be so eager to want to help, because obviously they're in your books, they know what's going on, but they might lack the expertise or skill set that you're looking for that proactive strategic planning and vision. So thinking about, okay, what are my bookkeeper skill set, and are they equipped to be my CFO? And if not, considering outsourcing to a CFO that does this with the right years of experience and background that you're looking for in your business.
No, I agree with you. There are certainly bookkeepers out there that have overlapping skill sets to both job descriptions, essentially, but it is a completely different job description. It is completely different. One is, all the things that you've been saying. Obviously, it's the planning, the vision, it's the strategy, and the other is the doing and making sure it's all clean and clear. It's what it is. It's like I always use the Yankees. It's like the batting coach and the general manager. Like, it's the batting coach. You have a batting coach. You have a pitching coach. You have a this. Then you have the team manager, and then you have the general manager. And so there's just different roles, and the company needs all of them. And when you're lucky that it's built into your partnership or whatever it is, like we've been lucky, yay for you. And when you're lucky that your bookkeeper maybe has that experience, because a lot of times we will run into somebody that has spent many years functioning as a CFO, maybe in the corporate world or whatever. And then, in their second career, they go into, a career of bookkeeper slash CFO, and they have that skill set. But if you keep knocking at the door of your bookkeeper and say, how do I know if I have enough money to do this? And you're sort of getting answers that really don't turn light bulbs on, then they might really want to help you, but don't have the skill set to, right?
And that is so common. And actually, one of our newer clients that just came on a couple months ago, that was exactly the conversation we were having, is their bookkeeper had a desire to help. They just were not equipped to
Mm.
be able to look at the comprehensive financial picture of the business. So that's
Mhm.
when, she realized, and I talked about this a lot, is you maybe have outgrown your bookkeeper and you need additional support and you're not sure who to go to. They're looking at their accountant. Their accountant has 300-400 clients. They are not going to be able to spend
Right.
the one-on-one time that you want. And that is where that role role of the CFO really comes in to close that gap, to provide the high level expertise and skill set that you're looking for, to handhold you through the process of financial planning and proactive approach to your business. Is not always your bookkeeper. And yes, you're right. Some bookkeepers are qualified and skilled and can also provide that service, but just be mindful of who you're hiring and what is the skill set that adequately aligns with the needs of the business.
100%. So one of the final things that I would like to just talk a little bit about, because it's so important, is paying yourself, is planning to pay yourself. And I'd be interested to know your philosophy on this. And I know that there's a part of me that's very old school in this regard. And it is born out of, my experience with Window Works. But one of the things that I hear often, Carla, when I ask a designer, are you paying yourself? A very common answer is, well, when I need money, I take an owner's draw. And I'm like, well, how often do you need money? Well, sometimes. So some people will say a couple times a year. Some people will say once a month. And for me, there's two things. So I recently had a conversation at High Point with someone, and very, very sweet person, all the things, was asking me some questions about their business. And ultimately, I want to know if you're paying yourself, because that also indicates to me how serious you are at this. Like if you're in business 6 months and you're not paying yourself, okay, you've got a little attitude. You're in business 3 years and you're not paying yourself. I'm like, wait, are you in business though? Or are we doing this for fun? Right? It's a little mechanism in my brain that switches me one way or another. Right. And so the answer was, well, when I need, money, I take an owner's draw. And then the follow-up, when I said how often and how much, then it was, well, it's generally every month, and I don't know, it was $5,000 a month. Okay, so all of a sudden I went like, well, that's actually a salary. Like if you are actually taking it every month, then it is kind of a salary. But to see what I don't love in there is that it's from the mindset of, if I have the money, I'll take it. And I almost always have the money, so I always take it. Whereas, I'm going to say Vinny raised me business-wise. We get paid. We're on salary. We get paid. And if it's Tuesday and we can't make payroll, start dialing for dollars and get some sales in here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different thing.
Yes.
And so what's your feeling on that? I've never asked a professional financial person that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you bring this up because it is one of the things that we want for our clients, and we ensure that that is on our goals if it's not already a habit that they've built. And there's three things we, set as goals for like the people we want to help, and it's cash in the bank, profitability, and paying yourself. Those are like non-negotiables. We feel like that should be like in every successful business, those components should be there. And if they're not, that's why you're hiring a CFO to ensure that that happens, right? So let's start with that. And what you said is so funny because I meet so many people in different situations. So I'll walk through kind of my philosophy is everybody should pay themselves. Okay. Let's start with that. Now, I hear all the excuses in the world, right? They're like, oh, well, I'm investing back into my business. I want to grow it. So therefore I won't take a paycheck. And listen, everybody has a personal situation. So we will honor that. But also we are telling our clients that if you want to sell your business one day, if you want to run a successful long-term company, there has to be a salary for someone that is in charge. It doesn't necessarily have to be you one day, but someone in charge will need to get paid to run this business. So we need to make sure there's an allocation that is a market rate, please, on what you should be taking away and going home with. So think about it. When one day you no longer are doing all the things and you want to hire someone in to take your place, they're not going to do it for probably what you pay yourself right now, if you're even paying yourself. So making sure that allocation is there is so important. Now, you said people are already drawing as they need to. What we want to turn that into is a habit and a discipline.
Right.
A habit and a discipline of paying yourself is so important, especially early on in your business. Why? Because we encounter clients down the road, let's say 7-figure business, that still are not paying themselves because guess what? They never prioritize them and their needs personally and from the business perspective, and they're like one day. Right. Guess what? That day never comes. They're 7 figures and they still can't afford themselves. That and like the notion of, oh well, I'll sell for big dollars one day and then I'll like cash out big. Well, that mostly doesn't always happen for most businesses because they don't end up selling, or they don't last that long, or they're just not plan for exit anyways. So that big cash out that everybody talks about doesn't normally happen. That's mostly for like startup unicorns that, come into Silicon Valley. But hey, if that's not you, or if that's you, great. If not, then we plan differently. We plan for long-term viability. And also, we take into account their personal situation, because we talk to our business owners about what are your wealth building goals for your family, and then we bring that in to the business to say the business needs to generate XYZ for you to take home in order for you and your family to be taken care of, for you and your family to build wealth over time. And that to us is so important. We want people to feel that their business is doing something for them, because otherwise they resent their business when they're not paying themselves. They're just working all these hours and they're seeing literally no benefit, quote unquote, of seeing the money coming to their personal bank account. They're like, why am I doing this? I'd rather just do something else. And we don't want them to quit too early, because they need to continue to grow. And this is going to be for the long term. And what I find also, people just are scared. They're like, well, I'm not sure if I should be taking money out. Like, do I have enough? What's going to happen if I start paying myself? And guess what happens is, when we plan it all out, and when we have that allocation every month, and when we manage cash flow, and when we have our budgeting process, all of a sudden it's clear that you can afford and how much you can afford. And if it's not the ideal amount yet, we make a plan to get you there. And so the goal is to start small, but have that habit and discipline built in to ensure that later you're not forgotten. And yes, you can invest back in your business and grow it, and also pay yourself. So it's not an and or, it's a and yes, we can do this.
I love it. I actually have never asked a professional like yourself that question, and I just know that I'm ingrained in it from the Vincennes, right? But I have said to people, if you're paying yourself $4,500 or $5,000 a month, and you're like, if I can, I do, just build it in. You can always call your bookkeeper and say, not this month, not this week, right? But what happens is, what I have learned, when you do it and it's just on automatic deposit, like everybody else in your company is, you do come up with it. You do come up with it. And when you work with someone like yourself, you actually plan to come up with it. And I've also even counseled designers with much smaller gross revenues. You know what? $200 a week. That's it. $200 a week. Make it happen. And then in 6 months, make it 300, because ultimately, like you said, to be doing a 6-figure business, approaching a 7-figure business, and not having, and I love your little comment in there, and I'm going to stress it, market rate salary for yourself. Right? If you're doing over $1 million in revenue, you better be making 150K. That's all I'm saying, right? Because here's the thing. You can go work for a peer for 85 or 100K if you really have some good chops and you're seasoned, right? So if you've got 10 or 12 years experience and you're not paying yourself 150K, then take your 12 years experience and work for somebody for 90, and don't go to sleep with all the pressure on your head.
Exactly.
Right?
It has to be worth it and better than, right? And also we, people get stuck on like, well, what's the methodology that I should pay myself? And then that's where they need to bring in their accountant into the conversation, because if you're just an LLC, you're doing draws. If you're an S Corp, you're doing payroll. So payroll and draws. And so depending on the methods, there's advantages and, things to consider. And so that's where we will bring in the accountant into the conversation on the best way to pay. But that is the technicality. What I want to build in is the habit of actually prioritizing yourself in your business, especially as it continues to grow.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? I know that at least someone out there went, yeah, okay, LuAnn, I pay myself $150,000. But you know what? Maybe not today, maybe not this month, maybe not next month, but it doesn't happen if you don't plan for it. And I think that's the biggest benefit of having the guidance of a CFO. However you get it. If you have to buy one, like Carla, if you happen to be married one, like I am, right? But that's the thing. You can do it. And if year after year are going by and you're not able to pay yourself market rate for what your skill set is as a designer and as the business owner who does all the things, then you really have to stop the brakes and take a look at this, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about being intentional with your numbers and your finances in your business. Otherwise, they'll happen to you and they won't look as good as you want them to.
Right.
So, making sure that you're proactively approaching it, it's going to be key. Um, and, again, prioritizing yourself, it's something I think a lot of people take for granted. They're like, well, I can't afford me yet. And again, that day will never come. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to just make room for it and ensure that it's planned for and accounted for. And that as you grow, you're also adjusting that. Just like you're probably adjusting your pricing. And if you're not, you probably should start considering that. As
Yes.
inflation rises and other costs rise, you should be looking at that margin as well. You should be looking at your own compensation and make sure that it's adequate and appropriate for the size of business that you have, even if you're just starting out. Again, it's that habit and discipline. It's not really the amount that we're going
Right.
after.
Right. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. That's exactly my point. It's develop the habit of paying yourself. And like I said, I don't care if it's $150 a week or it's, $2,000 a week. Do start the habit. Okay. Now, before I let you go, a couple of practical things that I want to cover here. Number one is that for an actual CFO in our business, a fractional CFO in our business, this is a significant financial investment. I think I read on your website that it's probably in the $5,000 to $6,000 per month range, and it's worth every penny, and I get it. But we do have, and if you are, doing, 6, 7 figures, and this is resonating, and you need this, whether it's Carla or somebody else, then I think you need to think about creating time and money and space in your budget for that. But if someone is not quite at that level, Carla, I was also looking at your website. You have like strategy sessions, one-off
Mhm.
strategy sessions. And what I'm not clear, and I would love for you to help us be clear on, is here's what I know it's happening. There's someone out there that just went, whoa, $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Nope, don't have that. Don't have that. Okay, yeah, you sold me. Thanks, Lou, but can't afford it. Not yet. I'm only doing $500,000 a year. I'm not willing to make that investment. Are those strategy sessions that we can invest in with you and your team? Are those for the person that's not quite available and ready for them to have the actual official fractional CFO, but to get some clarity so that maybe they can make some good decisions and get some guidance to work towards this year to make more money, or are they only lead ins to the actual thing? I wasn't sure.
No, that is exactly right. We created a few ways that people can work with us on one-time project-based strategic direction and getting the expertise and access to the expertise, even if they're not ready to go on retainer.
Great.
So our clients come to us and sometimes will meet with us quarterly. If they're like looking for some direction, they need to go execute and then check back with us to make sure they're on track. We review results for the last quarter, plan for the following quarter. So we have different ways that we work with clients. One is that strategic call. The other one is annual budget planning. So if you want to look at the whole year, you want to make a proactive plan and you want to ensure that you're hitting those goals, and maybe you don't even know what those goals are yet, we will talk about that during that annual budget planning session as a one-time project to deliver to you a pro forma financial statement that has all the cost structure aligned. We looked at margins. We had the conversation around the size of team you need to have. What are some of the growth goals? How are you going to get there? What are the steps you're taking to ensure that you're growing revenue in different ways that you make money, and ensuring that you have the right take home pay and the right profit for the business? And we get into all of that through our project based engagements. Now, if someone walks out of that and says, wow, I really want more support and I really can't hold myself accountable to do this on my own, that's when they would engage with us on retainer services. And based on the size of business, we have different packages and support levels that we can work with everyone on. So we do also strive to be less than or add 5% of revenue as the investment. But just think about the return you get on that, right, LuAnn? You mentioned like knowing and having that proactive approach to planning has really helped your business grow and save you from cash flow situations. So what we think about is the investment, but we also think about the return on investment for hiring a CFO. They should not be a cost to your business. They should be that investment that pays, dividends and not only absorbs the cost of hiring that CFO in your staff, but also helps you increase profitability and grow the business much more than you could have on your own. And that's the whole point of why we want to bring a CFO and make that investment into our business.
I love that. And I have to say, I would, look, I haven't worked with your company, but I do have, 100 years experience working with the Vincennes. And yes, all day long, it's a brain. That's what in my mind, it's the brain you need at the table. That's the thing. It's, so many of my colleagues, Carla, are very similar brain to mine. Like, look, an entrepreneur is a visionary brain, 1,000 ideas a minute, and, creativity, and oh my God, and this is a good way to do this and make marketing happen that way. But, there's that other brain that sits there and says, that's awesome. So what's the game plan to get there? Like, what kind of money do we need? What kind of runway do we need? And it's like, and I would share with you, at this point in my career, I feel like I could do a lot of that. I feel like I actually, can see a lot of the things, understand a lot of the things from working side by side with him. But I still will tell you, it is not my lane. It is not. And it's his lane. It's someone else's lane. And so I have learned to adopt the mentality of surround myself, if at all possible, and as soon as it's humanly possible from a checkbook standpoint, with the best that I can afford at every given stage for my business, for the skill sets that are not my superpower. I'm just so committed to that because I watch it happen in real life. Just move your business along, right?
And what you said key, right? It's a second brain. So it's bringing a different perspective from a finance lens that's complementing your creative, wild dreaming brain, making it a reality. Like, how do we put those plans into actual goals that we take action on and deliver on? Also, what you're doing is you're collaborating with a CFO to solve problems and brainstorm ideas. So the CFO doesn't just sit there and wait for you to bring things up. We are solving problems on your behalf or bringing different perspectives that you haven't considered before, even sometimes as well as we can possibly imagine, always legal and, with integrity, of course, because that is a pillar of, what we do and how we do it. But getting creative as well. Like, we love being creative with our clients and being like, what are the possibilities? And then sometimes our clients will go a little wild and we'll be like, okay, yes, and we might need to change a few things to make it legal or, with integrity, but absolutely, let's dream big. We never want to be the person that says, or at least I don't as a CFO, be like, no, we can't do that. Because you hear that a lot, right? In our industry, it's like finance people come to crush dreams. And I am not that kind of CFO. I'm like, let's dream big, but then let's also make it a reality and how can we make this possible and viable? That is always a question, not sorry, but we can't do that, or like, I don't like it, or we're going to cut costs. I'm like, just make more money. Like, there's like, there's so many different perspectives that we can bring, but we love to solve problems for that creative side and brainstorm along your side to make even better financial results for your company. But we can't do that if we don't expand our mind and become, open to the possibilities. And again, we're going to bring it back to reality and say, okay, is this feasible? Is it viable? How can we make it viable to ensure that you have a really good, solid plan to move forward? And the analogy I use a lot with clients is really simple. Like, you are inside of a jar and you can't see the label on the outside. So you need the CFO to come and read it for you because you're too close to the problem. You're inside the container and you can't step outside to see what you're not seeing. And so having a CFO come in and show that, to tell you that perspective and say, have you considered this? And you're just like shocked because you're like, oh, I never thought about that.
Right.
That is exactly what a CFO does for you, is objective third party with a new perspective that collaborates with you to get even better results out of the business.
I love it. I love it. So good. I have to say, I really, really appreciate all of this perspective. And, is there anything tell us how we reach you if we're interested in working with your services or just see. And I think you have a couple of videos or something on your website where we can get a little bit more idea if it feels like it's something that would benefit our business. And I just also want to say, I love the line that a CFO should earn you more money, that you'll have ROI off it. I 100% believe that. So go ahead, tell us.
So you can find us at wealthworthwithin.com, our website, and you can book a free call to talk about your needs. We want to make sure we're the right team for you, and then we can absolutely solve your problems from a financial perspective and the support that you're looking for before we start, making any long-term commitments. But you can book directly our strategy sessions there and our annual budget planning right now on our website. And if you want to access some of the content that we put out, which is a lot of interviews, a lot of conversations conversations around what's top of mind. We have some tax topics. We talk to experts in marketing and systems, and also obviously my finance perspective on all of that. You can check us out on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook at Wealth Worth Within, and you can follow along, all of our content, binge watch, and then come and ask me all the questions when we book that call to see if we are the right fit for each other and can we support you in your business growth journey. We are very hands-on with our clients. We are always supporting them and hand-holding them through the process because that is the type of service that we provide. And the videos will give you a taste of, my perspective and how we like to do things around here. And we welcome all of you to set up a discovery call. There is no ongoing commitment. It's just a conversation. I want to get to know your business. I want to know your problems and how we potentially can solve those for you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming here today, Carla, and going through all of this with us. I just get energized on conversations like this. To me, it's what are the possibilities for my business? What are the things I didn't think of? What are the things I didn't know? And whoa, because sometimes, a lot of times, someone with your brain will look at what we are doing and say, you have a gold mine here. We just have to make a plan for it. So I love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I love it. I love Carla's straightforward attitude when it comes to financial health. All right. And it makes sense to have a financial expert on your team. What do you guys always say to me? What happens if you don't have a VIN man, right? So it doesn't have to be somebody you're married to. It doesn't have to be somebody on salary, but you do want to have someone in your corner to check in with, to strategize with, and to explain things to you and hold you accountable. Carla works with all kinds of companies, large and small. She meets business owners where they are in their financial journey, all right? Helping close the gaps between basic bookkeeping and long-term plans. With every business, Carla looks at the 5 key components that she has dubbed 2C3P. That's it. Cash flow, capacity, planning, pay compensation, and profit. According to Carla, each of these is a pillar of financial health, and each works together in helping a company achieve their financial goals. Another point that Carla makes, and I'm there with her on this one, is pay yourself. You need to pay yourself. If you're not doing it, start by doing it. Start building that habit, okay? Because this is important down the road, especially if you think that you want to sell your company after building it and working it all these years. Someone is going to look at that metric. What is the owner's pull from the company? And if you're just like, well, I just did an owner's draw every once in a while, they'll be like, yeah, never mind. I want to buy a business that I can make some money on, all right? So it's important to do this now, okay? And another thing is, it's from the standpoint of building your personal wealth, right? Why are you self-employed? You can work for someone else a heck of a lot easier, go home at 5 o'clock and, take a yoga class. So we do this entrepreneurship because of these things. Our current state of mind and our current state of affairs as far as finances, but also the future. And so for conversations on building personal wealth along the long term, I would love for you to check out the episode with Brad Kleinert. He was on the show, episode 49. It was called Intentional Planning for Abundant Living. And he has a great perspective on it. And he is a great asset to the interior design industry and working with designers like yourself on building your personal wealth, okay? And if this conversation about finances caught your attention, you want to dive in further, you know that we have other experts that have been on the show throughout the years, Michelle Williams, Kimber Liddy, as I mentioned in the intro, and Peter Lang. And I had a great conversation with the 3 of these people, episode 719, where they discussed the year-end financial prep, which is important just to have a handle on it, even though if you're listening in real time, it's the beginning of the year. And each of these have their own individual episodes on the podcast, okay? So go to the show notes where we will list all of these episodes, all right? Clarity is important. That's the bottom line on your numbers. It's not important that you're an expert. It's important that you're clear on it. And I love Carla's analogy about being inside the jar and needing someone like a CFO to help read the label on the outside of the jar, right? Different perspectives, different points of view will help you understand your business with clarity. All right. It's hard to see it ourselves. It's hard to see it when we're running around all day in the middle of that jar. But help with people like Carla can make you, just, it's the confidence, right? It's the confidence. When you know your numbers, it's a game changer. Okay? So if you might be interested in working with Carla, visit wealthworthwithin.com. Of course, we will also put it in the show notes, and there you can view Carla's business budget video. All right? She offers consulting and strategy sessions, fractional CFO services, bookkeeping services, all the things. All right, we made it. We made it to the end of a conversation about numbers. Yay. We did it. Listen, I understand. I've been where you sit. It's not always easy, but every step of the way that we take in paying attention to the financial health of our business brings us more and more confidence, and it just is, it's a game changer. So I highly encourage you to embrace this. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn and Carla, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnandCarla.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.